Hi, everyone. We have a special interview today. I'm here with Sariah, who is actually a program graduate. Sariah, I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Alicia. I'm happy to be part of this.
Yeah, so for those of you who might be new to this group, I'm Alicia French, and I'm with Integrity Wellness, and I'm a coach and mentor for people who are stuck in the pain and triggers of the past. So when Sariah came to us, she was really carrying a heavy load of pain from past trauma that had her really struggling with living, from sexual abuse to family separation to serious cruelty from others. And Sariah initially came to us, though, because she was having pain in her body and was also struggling mentally. So after digging in to find out the root cause of her physical symptoms, what showed up was that she was actually still reliving the past trauma and feeling stuck inside of that childhood trauma and all the stories she had about who she was. Because of it, and because she couldn't get free of the heavy load of the past and present experiences, it showed up that that's why she had pain. So, Sariah, introduce yourself to us, and maybe describe how you're feeling that brought you to us.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I am Sariah Prouse, and initially I was just really good friends with McCall LeBaron, and we had met through programs and things like that, and became friends and became first-time moms together, kind of around the same times. And she kind of
talking to her. Sorry to interrupt. I was talking to her yesterday, and she was like, I call her my angel.
Yeah.
You really helped her out at a time when she was having a difficult time in her life, and made her feel really taken care of. So I wanted that as well.
I remember that. She's been an angel for me too, and so have you also.
Thank you.
But yeah, when she kind of explained what she did, I kind of just thought she was just a nutritionist or something like that. And I really, after having a baby and everything, I wanted to get back in shape. I just thought, oh, I'll just go talk to her in her office and see what this is about and see, what I need to do nutritionally to work on things. And it was so much more than that. I was super surprised. It was so much. Yeah. There was, muscle testing and just so much dedication into the spiritual and emotional side of everything, which is I always thought was so important.
Yeah.
It's a part of the whole it's a part of the whole web. There's a whole network. Like, if things aren't going very well mentally, I noticed for me that the more time that went on that I was struggling emotionally or mentally, the more pain I had in my body. Right. And it was so cool to find people like you who work on all sides of that, not just physical, but also the emotional and mental and spiritual. And like, that is the only way it's ever going to work if you really want to get healed, is to really take a look at all of the aspects of what a human being is made out of. Yeah. And it's so much more than just physical.
Yes. Yes. So
that started with you guys.
Yeah. So once we got to some of the root cause, so the nutrition part was a big thing for you. I know that. But as we started digging in, we discovered that there's a lot of past trauma that was actually causing your symptoms, as you're saying there. So what was it that, what was the trauma that you had experienced?
Oh man, there's a plethora there. It's hard to know where to start, but the basic trauma was sex abuse in the family, and just things with my dad, and then it was those things with my father, you know, and I had four younger siblings.
Right.
As time went on, there are four of them, and you know, things I learned were passed on to them, and it just started this domino effect of,
right,
we didn't know what we were doing, and we didn't know anything was wrong or but it started to turn into that. It was interesting to see how it all the impact of everything, and my mom was a really young mom, and also wasn't very she was really there for us when we were really little, but when I was about 8, she remarried and moved and took my 2 little sisters with her. They're the 2 youngest of the 5 of us, and my brothers and I stayed behind with my grandma and my dad.
Yeah.
And so the family split up was really difficult, especially because my baby sisters were kind of like my kids. You know, I was taking care of them when mom and dad weren't, really there. And also there wasn't really any memory of things that had happened with my father. So as I was showing all these signs of sex abuse and depression, an aunt of mine who's kind of like been a mother figure, she noticed those things, and she kind of did some digging, and also found out that she and my father and their sister were all sexually abused when they were children.
Oh, no. Right.
And my dad was only 2 when he was sexually abused, and the things that happened to them are really sad. It wasn't the same for me as it was for them.
Yeah.
But getting to understand that something happened to cause a pattern in my father. And then when it started kind of all coming out of the woodwork for me as I got older, when I was about 15, and my aunt was starting to bring these things up about what happened, and I just couldn't even believe it. I didn't want to believe it. I was angry at her and pushed her away, and couldn't even go home after school. I just stayed with friends because I loved my dad. I still do, and he. Anyway, to find out that a parent or somebody you've looked up to your whole life and really trusted, you're vulnerable as a child, and to find out that there were things going on that I had blocked out of my memory, and kind of made him almost like a bad guy. That was really hard to swallow. And so anyway, over time things started to make sense, and we've all talked about everything and worked as much out with my dad as we all can, and things are in a much better place now, and at least there's knowledge and understanding, and even compassion for what he had been through, and it really just kind of brought us all really close together in a great way.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then there were family split ups and being separate from siblings and separate things outside of the family happening to them, really, really horrible things. And it's just, when you're attached to people emotionally and you love them, but there's nothing you can do to protect them, you just feel hopeless and helpless and responsible. So there was just this weight I was carrying about kind of feeling responsible for, at being the oldest, like being responsible for all of it,
Right.
And
You had a pretty heavy load there, being the oldest, and
yes. And then when I found you guys, I was a new mom, and it was so important for me to make sure that this big, bad, scary world isn't real anymore, and that is not going to be the case for my son. And I just knew I had to work on myself and make sure that I could really, really, really be there as a good mom for him.
Yeah, yeah. So when you were experiencing maybe some triggers around the things that had happened to you in the past, did you feel like you were just stuck in the memory, like you're just always present to some memories, or were other memories just stuffed down, but you could still feel the emotional trauma from it?
Yes, it was a lot of emotional trauma that was stuffed down, and triggers were things like, for me, they were things like marital issues, like when it came down to my husband struggling with porn, and you just looking at images of other women and things like that. But that is just something that doesn't really get to me like that anymore, thank goodness. But at the time, because of what had happened with my father, there's so much detail. I don't know how much detail you want me to go into, but there were certain things that happened that made me feel like I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So I was never going to be good enough. And I was only 4 years old when that belief started happening. That I started to believe that, because my father had moved on from me to my mom's little 9-year-old sister, my aunt.
Wow.
And just my mom and I were like having to eat dinner on the floor, and he and my aunt, who was just 5 years older, would eat dinner at the table, and there were some sexual things going on with them. And as that little 4-year-old, I made it mean that I'm not good enough.
Right.
And so taking that belief and proving it to myself over and over again throughout my entire life was a pattern that I developed, and with boyfriends and things like that as I got older.
Right.
And then getting married and finding my husband, maybe looking at pornography. After we had a baby, I wasn't available for things like for intimacy. I was totally consumed and in a lot of pain. And so it's understandable, but I totally took that and I made it mean that I am not good enough, even after I've had this baby. And that's a fear I think some women have, that they're not going to be the same after having a baby or something like that. So that it was a huge, I don't think that we would still be married if we hadn't done some of the programs and also gone through belief switches and things like that with you and McCall.
Okay.
Triggers were anything around other women and my husband.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's awesome. I mean, that's not awesome, but I mean, how you've gotten, past that, and that your marriage didn't fall apart because of your trauma, because you've been able to make the difference for yourself. So I know you've done some other like self-development, maybe, you saw something in some other modalities to try to help yourself. Did doing those things really get to the trauma in the past and heal that?
No, not in that way. It was a way to open that door. But there was, when you started sending me clearings and doing belief switches, like that stuff was
right
deep. and really personal, and there's no way that a program like the programs we went through could ever really dig that deep. It was just more, it was awesome. It was just more surface. It was more like, okay, here we are getting ready to open the floodgates. And then you guys were the floodgates. Like, you were the flood, you know.
Yeah. So what Sariah is pointing to is actually what we do with people is get to the root cause of why you feel the way you do. And that really starts between, like you said, between the ages of 4 and 6, that time where your brain just says, oh, I must not be good enough because, you know, my dad doesn't want me anymore, or whatever it is, right? And then you're just seeing it everywhere. And what that does is actually grow a brain pathway, like actual pathways in your brain that you can point to. And it grows like a tree in your brain where you just, thoughts are developed from there, and you store emotions. Like, you actually store emotions like toxins in your body. And you just live from those emotions and you feel them. The emotions can cause you pain in different areas. And I know that you've experienced the pain from the emotions stored and gotten relief from that. And so what we're doing is really getting to the root cause of it and healing that. And we talk about that in our other videos. So go explore the videos that we've posted to learn more about that. So go ahead.
No?
Okay, it looked like you were going to say something. So Sariah, you jumped in on a program with us, and like we said, you worked on health and nutrition, and that was a pretty big thing for you. You were experiencing pain. We talked about this before. You were experiencing pain, pelvic pain. Is that what you said?
Yes, pelvic pain, and a lot of pain like in my spine, right behind here, and like in the side of my back, and I tend to carry a lot of tension and stress in my shoulders and my neck. And so it led to headaches and the pelvic pain. That was that was the hard, I think, even harder.
Yeah.
It's storing all of that pain in the areas where I'm a woman, you know, I'm in the areas of my sexuality, and it makes a lot of sense why I would be. And even with like separating when my mom left, you know, there's a lot of female, just the whole female system, even so it's not only sex abuse pain, but it's like my female counterpart. My mother was gone. So, all the female stuff was just not doing well at all, and just it makes sense why I would hold that there in that space.
Wow. So tell us, you know, what it's like now after your program. So what, you know, you just talked about the pain, right? And the female organs, and how the pain of the trauma that you'd experienced was actually causing that pain. What was it like after you got relief from that?
Just so much better. I couldn't believe it. Like, I had, for the first time in my whole life, regular periods.
Wow.
They were less painful, and just in general, walking, sitting, things like that, where there was so much less pain involved with that.
No,
and
that's
also,
huge.
It is huge, and as you know, as a woman, that's something you deal with constantly, right? So so to have relief, to not be fearful or even having contempt for being a woman, that like I hated myself.
Yeah.
I hated being a woman. I was not rejoicing in the fact that I'm a woman and that I get to experience having
Yeah.
children. And I was just totally shut down. And
Mm.
the freedom that I got around the pain relief and releasing a lot of the emotional stuff that was tied to the pain relief has just it's had a huge impact on my happiness and my joy and my love of myself, and it's had an impact on who I can be for my husband, and it's made our marriage better, and it's made me a much better mother, more present to my little boy. And I want to be an example for him, for my little boy.
Yeah.
We kind of tend to, as kids, I think, look for mates in our lives that resemble our parents in a way, like with people that we love unconditionally and who make us feel safe and are happy, and we want to be around them, things like that. I want to be that for my son, so that when it's his turn to find a person to be with, that he has a good example, not somebody that's emotionally broken and depressed
Right.
and
Yeah.
just resentful of everything. And so
Exactly.
yeah, it's had a huge impact in all kinds of areas of my life, not just pelvic pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
You feel like you've shifted like this family, I don't know, some people call it family curse or family, generational, pass down the drama or whatever.
yeah,
It's, you've
I've always
shifted that
called
for
it
your family.
yes, yeah, it's I've always called it being the chain breaker.
Mm-hmm.
you
Yes.
know
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah,
Awesome. Okay.
yeah,
Well, I
and that's
love that.
pretty awesome. So
Yeah. Anything else you can think of that you'd want to, um, you know, talk about what you've gotten from the program, from your program?
whew.
I'm looking at your testimonial that you posted here a while back on this group, and it was pretty awesome. Let's see. You talked about the stories you have about yourself. You had about yourself.
Yeah,
And,
had
yes, had. um, see. So would you say, that there's just a lot less weight on you? Like
absolutely.
before it was heavy weight of responsibility of family, and I didn't do it right and things like that. So what's that like now that you are free of that?
It's a huge relief. Like yeah, the weight of it felt like the weight of my entire world just on my shoulders all the time. And I'm things still go on in the family. There's still all kinds of breakdowns and really difficult things to deal with, but I deal with them so much differently. It's not it's it still can be emotional and things like that, but it's not all my fault, and it's
Right.
not all my problem. And I have realized now that I can still love them and be available for them in the healthiest ways that there are for me, which is for me just which is showing support and that I do love them, but also not feeling like if I don't take them on, as in let them live with me, or
Right.
make it my fault if something happens to one of them because of their choices. It's now their responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
They are the adults that make their choices and take on their lives, and it's not mine.
Right.
So I've just been able to let go of feeling and being responsible for all of them,
Yeah. That's
and their choices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really didn't have to take all that on all this time. It was just like a habit, you know, it was a habit that I had.
I can kind of hear, you know, like maybe somebody who's watching this and might be thinking, you know, I've tried to tell myself that, you know, I shouldn't take on other people's stuff, and I might, you know, put up that, you know, edge or tough person, you know, facade, but I still feel yucky, and I still feel responsible for, you know, what's happened, and like I have to make up for it or something, you know. How did you really know that you weren't responsible for everybody's stuff?
Well, how did I know it? It was
and be okay with you, right? How did you get to the point of being okay with you? Because I can see, you know, just by, you know, this conversation that you're okay with where you're at.
Yeah, I got to this place of being okay with me through doing the emotional clearings and belief switches with you. It was going back and finding myself, seeing myself as a child, and really choosing to take care of that child, really choosing to take care of me, and giving the love and support to learning how to give the love and support to myself, rather than just taking on everybody else's stuff, and making that my problem, my issue, my priority even, or
yeah. So when you did that work, did you, so, you know, somebody might listen to this and go, you know, well, what does that mean? You're only taking care of yourself now, you know? How did you actually end up showing up after you did the work, you know, with family and, you know, with people you love?
How did I end up showing up? I've been able to be more supportive, actually, in ways that are healthier for me and them. For example, before, you know, I have a brother who he's a drug addict, and we've dealt with some really, really difficult things with that. And his depression and stuff, like he would have in the past asked me if he could come live with me. I said yes. And all that does is enable him to keep making life choices that aren't good for him and that have an impact on the family. And now I can be okay with myself saying no. I can be okay with myself saying no, knowing that gives him an opportunity, that it's not shutting him down or turning him away, or it's going to be my fault if he ODs or something like that it's giving him the opportunity to make choices for himself, so he can be proud of himself, so he can be responsible for the work that is his life or his journey, and that I get to still love him and have compassion for him, and he even understands why I would say no. I mean, something like this happened recently, why I said, I'll do this thing for you one time, but after this, I'm not going to do it again. You know, I'm not going to do this again. And I was always afraid that he would be mad at me or hate me or blame me or push me away, but he didn't. He understood.
So just opened up more space for you both.
Yeah, it opened up more space for me to be a strong person for him, and for him to have the opportunity to be strong for himself.
Right.
Which it really does make a difference.
Yeah.
You know, because he doesn't like himself when he lets other people take care of him. It's just a habit. So he seems to be happier when he's actually left to his own devices and people say, I love you, but you've got to do this for yourself, you know?
Wow. So you're actually empowering him as you're showing up, like really being real with what's so, and not making yourself wrong, you know, and not being in your stories about yourself and life and all of that. Wow. That's
I get to show up as empowered to my family members now is inspiration for them to be empowered. I get to empower them rather than enable them.
Wow. I love that.
Same choices.
Yeah.
And it has changed.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love this work. I love how it helps, you know, not just one person, but it's like a ripple, you know, in the water. It just keeps going and you know, making the difference for, you know, families and worlds and you know, generations to come.
That's what I think is so cool about it too. I never expected to see the changes multiply outside of what I was doing. Right. That was unexpected. It was I keep stumbling over words because I feel like I don't have words for it almost. It's so cool. Yes, it is. My whole family is a whole different family than it was when I was growing up. And I mean, of course people change, but I mean, it has changed for the better, and there are new patterns that are being set into place that are healthy for people, that are, you know, my siblings are, you know, married and having children, and all of this work has even affected how they get to be with their families and make sure that they're also chain breakers. And and also, I mean, we all went for more than 10 years without even, well, mostly my brothers didn't speak to my mom for 10 years, and that was really hard for them and her. And after all this work, I was just able to say a few things to them and really have some more empowered perspective. And we all have a relationship with my mom now. She's flying out for Thanksgiving. Like, we all get to be together under the same roof after all of the stuff that happened. And there's a lot of stuff that happened. Yeah. We never thought that it could be good again. And it's better than that because we actually survived the really hard stuff and came out on the other side even better and stronger. And it's because of this work.
Wow. That's amazing. I'm like, I don't have any more to say. That's just like, that is incredible. It's like, it makes every moment of what I do so worth it. It's like, it's awesome.
Yeah, there's that saying that goes something like, if you want to see change in the world, change yourself. However that saying.
You got to be that change. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah. So it does start with, it starts here, starts there, you know, with you know, all of you that are watching this. And if you can relate to what Sariah has been, you know, talking about what she experienced in the past, and you really want to get the healing from the past pain that you've had, that she's gotten, then take the first step. And that first step is to book a free breakthrough session with us. I'm going to post a link in the comments where you can apply for your breakthrough call and book that call as well. And we'll get you on that call and look at why what you're doing isn't working to heal the past wounds that you've experienced and can't get past, and what it's going to take to get the results that you really want, that we've talked about here. Healing yourself, healing your family. We'll also look at whether you're a good fit for this work. So this isn't easy work. Sariah has done the hard work to get where she's at. Yeah. And
it's the best. So it's more than worth it, though. It's more than worth it.
It is definitely. And if you are ready to do that work, then we'll talk about what that looks like and get you started with us. If you're not a good fit, though, we will be completely honest with you and let you know. And thank you so much for being here and watching this. Sariah, is there anything else you want to say to wrap up today?
I just want to say, to the people, do it. Just do it. You've got nothing to lose. Only lots to gain, and there's no reason why.
Yeah.
You can't give it a good shot. You're worth it.
Yes.
You're all worth it.
Every single one of you. And that's what I would say, and I'm sure you would add to that, is that each and every person is a light that if that light wasn't here, we would all lose out. And I know you don't feel like that, but the truth is you're worth taking the steps to make the difference for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what we're both here to accomplish here, is that you know that, and you know that you really can get the things that we talked about today.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Sariah, thank you for sharing your experiences. And I know it's not easy to talk about those things, and I appreciate you doing that with us.
You are welcome. Thank you for everything you've done for me too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Everything that we just talked about, it's like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, and thank you all for watching us today, and we'll see you next time.
Yay. Bye.